SageMask 90 and Mask 200, you can track your purchase history with vendors that you pay by credit card. To do this, you'll need to set up an accounts payable vendor as a credit card vendor. This allows invoices from other vendors to be transferred to the credit card vendor for payment. In this tutorial, we'll show you how it's done, so let's jump right in and get started. To use this method, we must first configure a vendor as a credit card vendor. We'll demonstrate by looking at the vendor maintenance record for American Express. We'll go to the Task menu tree, expand Modules, and click Accounts Payable, Main, Vendor Maintenance. Using the vendor number lookup, we'll highlight American Express Company and hit Select. Notice that the credit card vendor box is checked. Checking this box allows us to transfer invoices paid by credit card from other vendors to our credit card vendor, which in our example will be American Express. So as you can see, this vendor is already set up for us to use this method, and we'll click Accept. In this example, we'll pay several invoices from Anders Auto Repair on our American Express credit card. So we'll use the lookup to locate their record and hit Select. Notice that the credit card vendor box is not checked. It's only necessary to check the box for the vendor to which invoices will be transferred to, not the vendor being paid by the credit card. Now let's click over to the Invoices tab to verify that they have some open invoices. Here we can see that there are several that are open, so let's click Accept and close the vendor maintenance window. The next step is to enter an AP invoice for the current statement from our credit card vendor, American Express. To do this, we'll return to the menu tree and select Invoice Data Entry. Using the vendor number lookup, we'll highlight American Express and then hit Select. For the invoice number, we'll enter an abbreviation for October 2010 statement and hit Enter. On the Header tab, we'll leave the invoice date as 10/15/2010 and enter the American Express statement balance of $2,028.63 as our invoice amount. Now let's click over to the Lines tab. Here you'll find a button to transfer information from other vendors for payment. We'll click this and use the lookup to select the vendor that we reviewed earlier, Anders Auto Repair. Moving to invoice number, let's open the lookup and we'll select for payment the first invoice for $1,040.50. And we'll click OK. Notice that the secondary grid shows the transfer from vendor information for this line. Now let's add a new line by hitting the Enter key, and we'll transfer another invoice by once again clicking the Transfer button. Notice that Anders Auto Repair defaults from our previous entry. For invoice number, we'll open the lookup and select this invoice for $898 and click OK to close the window. Let's hit Enter to add one more line, and for this example, let's code the remaining statement balance directly to an expense account. So in the GL account field, we'll type the number for our travel and entertainment account and enter 9013 to balance our invoice. And finally, we'll complete the invoice data entry by clicking Accept. Now we'll update the invoice by clicking the Print button, and this opens the Accounts Payable Invoice Register window. We'll leave the posting date as is and click Preview. The register shows the two transfers from Anders Auto Repair and the remaining statement balance that we posted directly to the general ledger. When we close the register, the AP Invoice Register Recap by Division report automatically launches. Let's close the report and click Yes to update the invoice register, and for this example, we'll click No to printing of the daily transaction register. Let's now review the payment information for the Anders Auto Repair invoices. To do this, we'll go to the menu tree and select Vendor Maintenance. Using the lookup, we'll highlight Anders Auto Repair and then hit Select. Now let's click over to the Invoices tab. We'll highlight invoice 112384, and looking down in the Details section, there's the $1,040.50 payment that we just made by American Express. Notice that the payment has a check number that starts with a C. This indicates that it was paid by credit card. Now let's highlight the other invoice we paid by credit card in our example, number 118863. And looking at the details, you can see that it was for $898 and again was a credit card payment. And that completes our tutorial. So to recap, accounts payable vendors can be set up as a credit card vendor to transfer and pay invoices from other vendors. Using this methodology will allow you to track your vendor purchase history even when paying by credit card. Give us a call for assistance with this or any other feature in your Sage Mass 90 or Mass 200 system. Well, that's it for this tutorial. Bye for now.